money, like 330 or something like that. I mean, it's not a...
That's Matt Turk introducing Ian.
That impresses me.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt, for having me. And it's really good to be in New York. You guys have a lot of very heavy rain here, and all of us here have gathered here because we care, right? Because we are data scientists, we are entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers at large, and we want to work on problems that are both interesting and hopefully that makes a big impact in society. And at Opendoor, we've built a company around a really hard problem that hopefully is very meaningful and impactful. And that problem is, how do we simplify the way that people buy and sell houses? How do we modernize the real estate experience, and how do we do that with data science? Now, a lot of you guys are looking at me like, what's Ian talking about? Why do we need to modernize the real estate experience? So I'm talking to a lot of New Yorkers here, so step out of your shoes for a moment and pretend that you are a typical homeowner in the country. Okay? So let's just pick Phoenix, for example. So you're that homeowner, and your home is worth about $230,000, and it represents the majority of your net worth. Now you have to move. Okay, so maybe you're expecting a family, so you're sizing up. Maybe your kids are moving away, and you're sizing down. Maybe you're going through a divorce, maybe a job relocation. Whatever the case might be, you need to unlock the capital that you have in your home. And so if you're going to start on day zero and you decide, you know what, I gotta do that. Well, guess what? It's going to take you over 3 months. And in that 3-month period, you don't actually know when you get to close, and you don't actually know how much you would close for. On top of that, you're going through open house after open house, you're negotiating, and there's still a 14% chance that a deal might fall through. That is an incredible amount of stress for the largest transaction of your life. And so what we're doing here at Opendoor is we want to simplify that and make it very easy for people to buy and sell. And the way we do that is we'll actually make an offer for a house and buy it from you, so that you don't have to endure 3 months of stress and headache. More on that in a sec. So the average home takes over 3 months to sell, and there's a 1 in 7 chance a deal would fall through. And our goal is to enable homeowners to sell instantly and eliminate these 3 months of stress, hassle, risk, and uncertainty. How big is this problem? Well, it turns out it is the largest asset class in the United States. Roughly 2/3 of Americans are homeowners. It's the single biggest thing that we spend money on. Every year, $1.4 trillion of assets change hands, generating $100 billion in fees. This is a massive industry in which consumers aren't really left with that many choices. Right? And that's what we're here to do at Opendoor. We want to really create a new option
So what this is going to mean is disruption in the real estate market. And he quoted a $100 billion market of fees that are charged to you and me, those of us that are selling or buying homes. $100 billion is being charged to all of us by the realtors, and they're going after that market themselves.
Fair market value for a house. And here's the amount of fees that we're going to charge. And we're being very explicit with that. And you know exactly how much you can take home. And if you click next, we can close in as quickly as 3 days. Right, so what we've done is eliminated 3 months of stress and hassle and just, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? And you can basically move on whenever you want. Okay, so that's the product. Now, in order to deliver on this product premise, we have to solve some really hard problems. Chief of which is, how do we price our most valuable assets? How do we create a pricing index that clarifies the value of these $25 trillion worth of assets? You and I can log on to our bank account and check our balance down to the cent. But when it comes to the biggest thing that we own, suddenly we have no idea what it's worth. So how do we flip that equation a little bit? And so here's a map of Phoenix, darkened, and here are all the transactions.
So he starts going through all the transactions that have occurred over the past year. And what I find fascinating about this is that he needs to come up with data sets in order to come up with these models. And those data sets just don't really exist because it's hard to find another example of your home in comparison to other homes in your market. You always hear realtors talking about getting comps, right? Well, comps are recent sales of homes, and that can be very limited. And it's hard to find an exact copy of the home that you're trying to sell. And so I think that what these guys have done that others haven't is really taking a look at the time series data and taking a look and basically saying for that home, we don't have enough data set. We don't have enough data over the past year to really make a true accurate prediction that we're willing to bet on. So we have to go back 10, 15 years of sales data, taking a look at this home in contrast to other homes. So Ian talks a little bit more about that as his talk continues.
And so what are some of the challenges with data science? And now I want to highlight 3 of them. And as data scientists, the general the program to build predictive models is that we play pretend. We pretend that we are a buyer in this market, and we ask ourselves, what are the things that we think about? And our job as data scientists is to take those intuitions, teach our model those intuitions, and see which one of those generalize, right? Which one of those withstand the backtest. So let me highlight 3 problems that you encounter if you were to ask yourself these questions. So the first one is you want to see the home. Second one is you want to study the neighborhood. The third one is that we need to look across time. So if I were to tell you, hey, there's a home in Phoenix, it's 2,000 square feet, 4 bed, 2 bath, can you give me a value? I'm like, no, I need to see the home. Okay, so that's the challenge. We need to start by actually being able to turn very visual signals into something that is machine readable, that we can show and ask the algorithms to learn from. And so that 4 bed, 2 bath, 2,000 square feet home that was built in 1995 is a home like this. Now suddenly you're getting all these sensory signals, right? Things that are, as they relate to the quality of the home, that matters when it comes to the price of the home. So what are some of these? Some of these features are fairly quantitative, and others are actually quite qualitative. So the quantitative ones, is there a pool in the backyard? What's the type of the flooring? What's the cabinetry? Is it stainless steel appliances? These are actually fairly quantifiable. And then there are other ones that are actually much harder. Do you like the look and feel of this house? What is the curb appeal for this house? Right. So our job in data science is to then turn all these visual signals into something that's very structured. Like how do you quantify curb appeal? That's a pretty difficult challenge. And so practically speaking, what we do is a combination of deep learning. So we have a couple boxes, and Amazon that's running Keras and is kind of turning all these photos into structured data, and also a lot of crowdsourcing. I know that deep learning is in vogue these days, and everyone's talking about deep learning. I'm surprised that we don't have a deep learning talk here tonight. But I'm really hoping that 2017, as a side note, is going to be the comeback year for crowdsourcing because we need it. And it's totally underappreciated as a technique.
And, just today, Matt Turk was tweeting about how this notion of not having to have humans for the artificial intelligence to occur, like deep learning, is a little bit bogus right now. And I tweeted back saying, you're right, you got to have humans to train the models at least. And in this case, not only are humans training the models for Opendoor, but they're actually going to more humans and crowdsourcing opinions on these houses. So they're using a combination of crowdsourcing plus machine learning and artificial intelligence to help arrive at the quantitative metrics that are needed to price a house.
We're trying to price this home that's got a white arrow here, and these other homes are the ones that transacted in the last 12 months, right? And you're like, you know what? I can probably triangulate based on these other homes, what they closed for, what this home in the middle should be priced at. But really, in reality, housing is actually quite heterogeneous. So there are a lot of features here that are quite variable that would impact the relative prices of these houses. Let me point you to a few of these.
Where he goes with this is that it's basically just so hard to compare one house to another, and to take a look at the 3 recent home sales that might have occurred neighboring this house is really just not a good place to start. So he goes into some good examples of that, indicating that every home is pretty unique. So just to compare it to the recents isn't enough to come up with a good pricing structure. You got to really take a look at the time series of data, and he goes into that. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit.
For any given home, right? And now we're starting to walk in the rarefied territory of modeling, and most people haven't really gone to this phase in terms of thinking about how to value their houses. And this is just for spot price, right? This is just what I think the home should sell for today. And that's just level 1. Level 2 is how do we then actually telescope this both backwards in time and forward in time? So we need to now start thinking about how we can do a little bit of time travel. So here I want to contextualize a challenge here. I want to share a database that shows the last 15 years of transactions in Phoenix. So here it is. Red means transactions that close below historical average. Blue means transactions that close above historical average. And in the early 2000s, you see a pretty good mix of red and blue, so it's pretty even keeled. Until you see the bubble years, when suddenly all the transactions start reaching historical highs as they all flash blue. And you guys are all...
The key here, though, is that that asset is moving along with the other assets around it over time. And when you have larger samples of data like you do when you take time series into consideration, it allows you to have more accurate predictions for your model.
Around 2012, when the prices start to recover, and we're now on a more stable long-term trajectory. So my point here is that the same home, that same 1,000 square feet home, depending on when you ask the question what that value is, you'll have a very different answer if you ask that question in 2004, 2008, 2012, or today. Right? So there is a lot of heterogeneity, not just in space, but also in time. And we have to model for that. And so what are some of the challenges? Modeling here is the same view of that data set, now with time compressed in one dimension, and you have the close prices, and each dot here is a transaction that closed. So what you'll see here is for any given moment in time, so if you take a time slice here along the,
All right, are your heads spinning yet? With the amount of data elements that he's talking about? Well, these are the guys that are kind of really crunching the numbers behind the scenes. These are the ones that are looking to disrupt that $100 billion in fee industry here in the United States, which is the fees that are charged by your realtors, the fees that are charged by those that are doing inspections and appraisals and the like. And they want to keep some of that money for themselves, maybe put a little bit back in your pocket, but certainly make your life easier. Getting rid of that 3-month headache of the unknowns. They're trying to basically sell you certainty rather than the uncertainty that exists in the agita that comes along with the hassle of buying and selling a home. It's a decision that many of you are going to make at some point, or those close to you might be, and it's certainly one option to keep on the table there. It's called Opendoor. It's only open today in 3 markets here in the U.S., but is expected to roll out to many more. They've got $320 million in funding behind them from investors, so obviously the investment community is believing largely on their ability to take this data science plus crowdsourcing and bring it en masse to the country. I expect, I would imagine, others to emerge like Opendoor, but certainly when you kind of drive through that neighborhood of yours, and you drive past that realtor office, right? Whether it's whoever it happens to be, all those realty offices that are out there, Remax, and I should know more of these off the top of my head, but I don't. Oh, geez. But as you drive through, think about what's going to be the impact there, because so many people that want to go into real estate sales, they can still get ahead on this, but the secret here is in getting your mind wrapped around not just data and not just comps that have sold over the past couple of years, but going back 15 years in time, because you're making a decision as a home buyer that is similar to the decision that Opendoor is making. It's what's allowing them to come up with a price to offer. Even if they're not in your market, changing the way that you think about how you price your own home or put an offer price down for another home is something that should take into consideration these types of variables and this type of thinking. And if the crowdsourcing for you is just putting a picture of the home that you're thinking about purchasing up on Facebook and asking your friends what they think of the curb appeal, that's something you can do today, right? And so starting to gather those data points for yourself in a manner that's similar to what Opendoor is doing if Opendoor is not available to you. But certainly keep an eye out for them, opendoor.com for more information, and that is the tech portion of our show today at Pop Song Tech. And that is our show for this week. I want to sincerely thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for sharing the show with others. You can always send me an email, popsongtech@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, at popsongtech. Invite you to retweet our tweets or just say hello. And certainly want to thank you again for your support.